Yeah, I did.
9 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order.
Thank you.
In recognition of Veterans Day, if you please stand, I'm going to ask Matt Wilcox of the Veteran Affairs Office to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it serves, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Richmond, roll call, please.
Flanagan, present. Cantz,
Here.
Mokel,
Here.
Webb,
Here.
Whitehead, present. Freeman.
Here. And I'm here too.
Hughes.
For this meeting, questions from the public, should be posted on the live stream, and, Matt will be checking that. President Piper is out of the state and not with us today. Denise, was the agenda posted?
Yes.
I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Flanagan, second by Whitehead. Roll call, please.
Pardon me. Mr. Cantz,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes. Moving on to approval of the minutes, we have two sets of minutes. First set is the October 24th special meeting at which we reapproved the budget.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Motion by Whitehead, second by Flanagan. Roll call.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Abstain.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cantz,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes. Now we have the regular meeting minutes of October 24, 2023.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Flanagan, second by Whitehead. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hughes, I was hearing something else. Who did the,
A motion by Flanagan, second by Whitehead.
okay. Mr. Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cantz,
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody?
Excuse me. Consideration of transfer requests. Tanya?
Okay, we're starting off in County General, which is 1,000. We have Clerk 125. Line 211, Office Supplies, negative $3,000. 441, Computers, positive $3,000. Total transfer is 0.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. Anyone here from the clerk's office?
I am, sorry. We were cautioned by IT that we needed to start replacing our computers because they would not be supported in 26. So since we got trimmed a little bit for next year's budget on what we planned on buying, we're trying to buy 4 more this year.
When you say trimmed, can you refresh my memory on that?
We asked for more money in our supplies for next year to cover the ones we wanted to buy next year.
I get that, but how many did you ask for and how many did we leave you enough to purchase?
Well, depending on what other supplies we need, so we figured we could probably get, 7 or 8 next year.
Okay. And what, you think this will get one?
Pardon me,
You think this 3,000 will get you one more,
4 more.
4 more?
We have 2,000 already in there, so that would be 5,000.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan.
Yes.
Chance.
Yes.
Mokel.
Yep.
Webb.
No.
Hughes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, EMS, 155. We have A, 178, paramedic, negative 9,796.20. F, 125, advanced EMT, positive 1,275.92. 196, overtime, positive 8,520.28. D, 177, advanced EMT, negative 4,491.12. E, 177, advanced EMT, positive 4,491.12, total transfer 0.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. Comments?
The first one, the first transfer is going from an employee to an employee. He finished paramedic school this year, and we had the funds left over in a line to be able to go ahead and start paying him as such prior to next year's budget, where he has been approved as a medic pay. And then the other one is transfer into overtime. And I'm hoping that this will be it. So I think I can make us through.
So this is for money, some of this money is for money that's allocated for next month, is that correct?
No, this money is, everything that's being transferred is money that's left over in pay lines because we have 2 people right now who are off on workers' comp. So they have money left over in their line. So we're just moving from one to the other to offset and to have overtime. We're finding it in our budget.
Thank you.
Recap what you said, the EMT pay, we did approve that
Yes.
starting January 1.
Yes,
You're saying he's already have his qualifications now. I
Yes.
want to take this extra money and go ahead and start paying him now at EMT pay instead of
medic pay.
waiting until January 1. correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Because we have the funds to do it and we want to go ahead. And since he is working as a medic now, the state approved it. He passed all of his stuff. So we want to go ahead and pay him as what he is, his role is. But yes, he was approved in 24 budget as that medic line.
What about the advanced EMT, please?
That is going to, Tanya and we still need to get together. That is changing. That line is going to become a medic. And I believe it was made a medic for 24 budget. I'm pretty sure that line is, as of 24, January 1, it will become a medic.
Which one is that? F
That very first-
125 or
Yes.
E 177? F 125?
Yes.
I'll check.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Flanagan.
Yes.
Chance.
Yes.
Mokel.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Whitehead.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is jail 145. We have C 104 sergeant, negative 1,250.76. C 135 corporal, negative $955.04. D 127 correctional officer, negative $357.74. D 133 corporal, negative $3,386.44. D 141 correctional officer, negative $46.47. D 151 correctional officer for negative $4,260.99. E 115 correctional officer, negative $293.52. F 113 correctional officer, negative $1,527.56. F 127 correctional officer, negative $6,458.60. G 108 corporal, negative $124.19. H 119 correctional officer, negative $8,463.42. H 134 correctional officer, negative $4,986.33. H 138 correctional officer, negative $2,450.93. H 139 correctional officer, negative $7,551.23. J 140 correctional officer, negative $4,623.88. 197 overtime, positive 23,000 even. 196 holiday pay, positive 23,737.10. And I'm gonna go ahead and drop down and include the next two, which are also jail 145, G 114 correctional officer, negative 9,835.04. H 114 correctional officer, positive 9,835.04. Total transfer for all is zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. I think we know what's going on here, but you might tell us.
This is just transferring of all the excess funds on salary lines into overtime, and I wish I could tell you that it would be enough, but I don't know.
A couple questions for you. How many open positions do you have for your, correctional
As
officers?
of today, I really wish you wouldn't answer that, because as soon as you do that, you jinx
Give me
me.
a roundabout.
I have two,
I'm not gonna tell you good job then, because I don't want to jinx you.
and you just did.
Other question I have is, can anybody, I know we don't have the computers up here today, is there any way to access how much overtime we've transferred in this year?
You might
Don't
know it
know.
in her head.
No, I don't.
You do not?
I've moved so much money to try and get it covered, but,
You said in finance that you've already spent 20 of this 23, is that correct?
yeah, I put in to move 23,000 into overtime, and they turned in 20,000 less.
How's the holiday, pay dispersed, please?
The biggest ones are coming up, obviously, we have Thanksgiving, and you had Veterans Day, and everything that's this month, and then a couple next month, so.
None of this has to do with any grants that you've been given?
No.
Any other questions?
I want to follow through on the holiday pay, please.
Sure.
Holiday pay, is that figured as part of overtime? I guess I don't understand holiday pay.
If they work the holiday, they get a higher rate. So that will come out of, that excess will come out of their holiday line.
Could that not be placed in the budget as far as, if you know what that number is on an annual basis?
He's asking the same thing I had asked before about if it's holiday pay. We already know how many holidays are in the year. Why are we transferring new money in? What she's saying is different people, it's not like paying them for their time off. It's when they work, they get like, what is it, time an hour, double time or whatever. And they don't know how many of them are gonna be there.
Not to mention everyone who has different years of service there, if they're working the holiday, you get paid more than I would get paid if I'm a brand new employee. So I can't, the only thing I could do, if you want me to do that in the budget, I could hedge everything at the highest employee's rate of pay, which would mean you're gonna be putting way more money in there, we hope, than I would need, which we don't wanna do that, because then that takes from somewhere else in the budget, where you need it to give to someone else. So I can always do that.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Cantz,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
me,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm next.
Oh, we did both of them.
I'm sheriff, next one.
So you want me to skip
Skip the prosecutor?
prosecutor?
Oh, did it? Oh, good,
Let's
let's
go
find
ahead,
out,
let's
shows me
go
being
ahead.
next.
Go ahead and do the sheriff.
Okay. Sheriff 129, A 104 captain, negative $39. F 119 corporal, positive $39. 241 supplies, DTF, negative $191.70. 371 contracts, positive 191.70. Total transfer is zero.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. She's cleaning up some line items.
Yes.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cantz,
Yes.
Hughes? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll go back to prosecutor.
Okay, prosecutor 137. We have B 115 deputy prosecutor. This amount is now negative 7,232.48.
It should be the 7,579.47, Tanya.
What time?
Okay, that's not what I marked at I had the remodel as the 7,579.47, and I showed that we're not doing that.
It was the equipment that we removed at finance.
Oh, it was.
Copy
Okay,
machine?
That's right.
we need to change this then. This amount, sorry, is going to be negative 7,579.47. And flipping over, we are going to do away with line 361, zero. And then we will have 420 with a positive 7,579.47 for a total transfer of zero.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. I know you sent council the information regarding the remodel, but you might just give us a brief summary again.
Lisa Carr from the prosecutor's office. After the last meeting, I got some additional quotes. And the electrical came in at $12,430. And, it was things to move a copy machine, add a light fixture, and add some electrical outlets around. I did send you all a copy of that estimate. And then we also had an estimate to build a wall, which includes the drywall and the door. And that one is $1,174.86. So in order to complete our remodel and try to get it done by January 1st, we were short $7,579.47.
And it's coming from a vacant deputy prosecutor position.
Correct.
Questions?
We have computers. Getting computers.
I have already, I have the money to purchase a computer for the new prosecutor, yes.
One.
Yes, that's all that I need for the new prosecutor.
Okay, so, you also indicated earlier, I believe, that, perhaps we would have money for copiers?
We had talked about copy machines. After that time, I had, made contact with Weber office, who has our contract for copy machines. They are telling me that my copiers are not at end of life yet. They're getting closer, but not at end of life. My original thought was that I could, transfer some money and then, move it for next year's budget. But until I'm ready to purchase and have an invoice for them, I'm not able to do that. So my only option is to, going forward, to start budgeting for the copiers.
And we're buying those, correct?
We will have to buy those at that time, correct?
Not lease, buy, purchase.
Pardon me?
We're not going to lease them, we're going to purchase them.
I'm not sure what we'll do. We're going to price them both ways at that time.
And it seems like, during the budget, we talked about one of the copiers, we're paying somebody else to use their copiers, and that seemed like that amounted to quite a bit of money. And, you know, what I'm-
Our
Okay.
copiers were purchased by the commissioners. We have 3 in our office. And then the commissioners have a contract, for maintenance with Weber's.
I
So they
understand
can-
that, but it seemed like we were farming out,
That may have been another office, my office.
I think that was the public defender,
Okay,
that they were
sorry.
paying
that's
the
okay.
defenders to use their office, their own personal office equipment to make
All
copies.
right, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
So if I can understand this correctly, the cost for the rebuild is at 7,000. It's closer to 14,000,
Correct.
and you have about half of that. So you need us to transfer the other half,
Yes,
just so I can get my head around it.
yes.
Remember last meeting, she asked for the 14 and we cut her back to get some up till she got her estimates.
Right, but she asked for 14 for a remodel and a copier. And now it's 14 for just the remodel. I'm trying to figure out how we need a wall and a
For the
door,
remodel.
$14,000.
The electrical.
It's only 1,400 for the,
Right, the expensive part is the electrical. The building superintendent, Steve Foster, is going to do the labor for our wall. and that will not cost us anything.
Electrical
Lisa,
for what?
thank you for getting us all these numbers. Ryan, if you
You're welcome.
looked at what she presented, I mean, it's 17,400 for everything.
Yeah, I
The
know that.
electric is the largest part of it.
I'm trying to figure out why it's so much for the electric for, if, we're not getting a copier, right?
Okay, Steve brought the electrician up, so
I'll,
he can help with
Steve
that.
Foster, Building Superintendent. The problem you got there is they have to bring dedicated circuits from one, if you have down at the prosecutor's office, they're on the far end, so the panels are down at the other end, so they have to bring circuits down for them. Cause it was never brought down in the original bill, cause that's out in that lounge area that they have, so. And each copier has to have a dedicated circuit because of them copiers pull right around 12 to 14 amps, so you have to have one breaker for that.
I get all that, but why do we have to have it for a copier? If we're not getting copiers, and this is a rebuild for an additional prosecutor, why can't we use the
They
prosecutor
have
you guys have?
they have two copiers now, so when I build the wall over here, they have to bring that copier over, so that has to have they have one over there now, but this one over here has a dedicated circuit already. We're just gonna pull a new one because this has to be,
Why can't we leave it where it is and use it?
Okay, I'm sorry, one of the copiers,
But I'm trying to get
right,
at,
our color copier is currently sitting where our new office is going to be. There's a little indentation, U-shaped area, and that's where the copier is at, so it's gotta come out of the new office.
well, what's it plugged into if there's no outlet over there?
Right, it has an outlet, on one wall, so then we'll need another outlet on the other wall, but it's moving to another area. So it needs to come in, something needs to come in to plug it into, that won't blow our breakers all the time.
So we're building the office where the current copier is plugged in,
Correct.
but we can't use that plug-in because it has to go on a different wall. And moving it to a different wall is gonna cost almost $17,000.
and that may go down because I think that bid also had data. And I think IT I need to relook at again, that may have the data line in it, but that's gonna have to be paid regardless too, because they already had that done. But yes, that circuit will have to stay there to run that new office. So we have to pull a whole new circuit and then add some circuits, so. And I mean, Chuck just had it done, what, a year and a half ago, and I think it was $5,000 or something like that. I mean, it's not exactly cheap to have an electrician come in and pull lines.
Well, I get 5, but this is 14, that's a big, or 17. It's
But
3
there,
times.
and like I said, I need to go back and
And there
relook
was
at.
a light fixture, I believe, going in there.
I'll look at it. Hold on.
Let me give this to Ryan. This is what I had emailed out to all. of you. But there's no-
Sorry, I was just looking at-
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I should have let you see.
Well, Ryan's looking at it. I have a question for Lisa or Steve. Will the electric that's gonna be pulled be enough capacity that if in the future there is another office added, that this will be enough
We are,
capacity to
we
cover
are
another
actually,
office?
when we pull that down there, he's pulling, I think he's pulling 2 or 3, so we can tap off of that. That's the problem out there now. When the electrical was done out there, they run 3 offices off of one breaker. Sure. All the way through that building. So if you add anything to that building, you have to pull a new circuit. I mean, they maxed them out when they built that building. So anytime we run through this in the future, whether we add a jail or this, that, or the other, I mean, it's gonna have to be, we're gonna have an expense of having to pull electrical wire for it. It just don't have the breakers that are out there are already maxed out in each room.
Is that a yes or a no?
Yes, the
Okay.
new one will hold everything.
Thank you, Steve.
Sorry, I'm trying to look at this email at the same time.
Sure. Anything further, Ryan?
Yeah, I looked through it.
Okay. Any other questions? I didn't see it.
Not really, but I mean, I still just don't understand. If it's already in the area, we're building it,
You're
and it's
welcome.
there, why are we moving it and then to have to charge a whole nother? Because if that's the case, why couldn't we just use that outlet for the copier and then you're saying move one receptacle, regular plug-in? It doesn't seem that difficult to move one
And
receptacle.
the,
I move a receptacle in my house, I'm not an electrician.
right,
It
there's a
costs me
wire
nothing.
that comes in that brings in the the internet, and that needs to stay there. And that's part of what's, needs to stay and not move. But you're welcome to come out and look and see what we're getting ready to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Roll call.
Mr. Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb, no. Hughes,
Yes.
Me,
Thank you, Lisa.
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hughes, we had to manually add one in on one of our transfers. It's for the auditor.
Okay,
Auditor 126 is the fund. It would be line C 102, Chief Deputy. Going to line D 102, Chief Deputy. And the C 102 is a negative 4,460.41. And the D 102 is a positive 4,460.41. Total zero.
Motion to approve.
second. Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. I talked to Mr. Carroll, over the weekend. This was just an omission. It is, simply a, replacement personnel. I told him it would be up to the council whether they would be willing to, approve it. Any questions or concerns?
I have a question.
Okay,
I got,
maybe,
you're the chief deputy?
I am not.
Okay,
She's settlement.
okay, that's what threw me off. This young man,
That
chief
man.
deputy, okay. All right, that makes sense. She's settled, all right.
okay, roll call.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes,
Whitehead,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
2,100.
That'll be next.
Okay.
Yep. That is under other, where auditor was still under county general. So
Oh, that's
why
right.
we threw that in. Going on to other, under adult user fee, 2,100. We have 323, communication and transportation mileage, positive $500. 441, office machines, negative $500 for a total transfer of zero.
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan.
Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. Juvenile probation officers are required to see their clients, probationers, in person. And because these children are kind of all over the state and facilities, they are really running through mileage, so we had to put more money in the mileage.
And Emily, just to reiterate something we asked in Finance Committee, they have to look at them in face. They can't do it in Zoom. They have to-
Right. They cannot do over telephone or Zoom. It has to be in person.
Part of this was because of they're not a YOC.
Right, YOC cannot hold them, and then, of course, their services are dwindled. So we have to they are placed in other facilities throughout the state.
Questions? Roll call.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes,
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, motor vehicle highway 1176. We have G 127 truck driver, negative 4,936.80. H 127, I believe that's truck driver as well, for a positive 4,936.80. Total transfer is zero.
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second Flanagan. Replacing an employee.
Yes. We had a guy walk off the job and quit.
Too cold.
Too cold. Yeah, it was too cold. It was like 63. It was too cold.
Is that your only opening? You
Yeah,
guys are pretty
yeah.
much full, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes,
Hughes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is Lit Jail, 1170-145. I'd like to start off by just saying all of these are gonna be correctional officers from B105 to G112. We have B105, negative 3,815.35, B109, negative 1,394.52, B110, negative $1,468, C103, negative $55.05, D103, negative $912.87, D104, negative 2,224.22, D106, negative 5,233.31, D107, negative 146.80, D111, negative $500, E108, negative $2,600.91, F115, negative $500.08, G111, negative 4,510.01, G112, negative 3,669.84, 171 FICA, positive 5,111.53, 172 perf, positive 4,817.83, 174 life, which is life insurance, it's positive 194.46, 197 overtime, positive 8,453.57, 199 holiday overtime, positive 8,453.57, C114 correctional officer, negative $4,015.34. D114 correctional officer, positive $4,015.34. Total transfer is zero.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan.
Tanya, I have a note from finance about the lit sheriff being G112 also. Is that right?
You know what? I remember that, but I did not mark that in my note, and that is, I might have failed to tell Denise that as well, because I didn't mark it, but I think that is what Nancy
is
said,
correct.
that
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 is
should be
the jail.
lit jail rather than lit sheriff, and I can go ahead and read that as well. So that would be 1170-145 in the same category as we're already in, and I'll just go ahead and read those. We have 173 life insurance, negative $156.24. 171 FICA, positive $156.24. Oh, no, shoot, I just messed that up, you guys. I believe that part is lit sheriff. It's the G112 only
Yeah.
in the next section, correctional officer, which is 1170-145 jail, lit jail. And that is negative 4,403.76, and H112 correctional officer is positive 4,403.76. That totals zero, and I'll just reread lit sheriff after we go through this.
Point of order, Mr. Freeman. Should we withdraw the motion and remake it?
I would, yes.
Motion withdrawn.
Second?
Draw as well. Okay,
Motion to approve.
Second.
one.
Well, I may have jumped the gun, but shouldn't it be H111 or H111 and H112 versus G112 and H112?
Mm,
You have
no,
two G112s.
Right, there was excess funds in the line, so we moved that into overtime or wherever I was moving it. But then I also take what's left because the employee who was on that line has left, and I move it to the new line, which is H. So yes,
So it
she's kind of, she's
It is
doing it
confusing,
twice.
yes.
It's
Okay,
like she
alright.
moved this much out of it. Now there's a little bit left that she needs to move
Okay.
to H, and so she's moving it. It came in on separate papers, but we tried to combine everything.
That's fine.
okay, so at this point, the motion at this point is just for the lit jail.
Yes,
which
lit
will-
jail 145, total transfer zero.
Motion to approve.
It's already,
It's already been.
we already got that done, I think.
Okay,
Any
so-
other questions? Everybody understand where we are?
I do have a question.
Sure.
How many employees is this on here? This is just employee leaving, replacing employee, right? There's no new employees in this?
No, there's only 13 employees in the jail out of the lit budget. And I will tell you that I try to fill those positions last. I go through the regular budget lines first when I'm moving people in and out.
Right.
And I'll leave those sit empty if I can.
Why is it, and this answer may be right in front of me, but if it's just a transfer of employees, why is there such an increase in FICA and perf?
My mistake when I figured it, honestly.
Because
That's the only thing I can
that
come up
should be a
with.
wash, right?
Should have been, but it's not.
So you're saying you caught a mistake and put
Yes.
it in here and this is the correction?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Any other questions?
You only have like 150 lines to deal with.
I mean, it's so non-confusing.
I'm only half your transfers every time we're up here. So, you know,
Roll call, please.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cant,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes. We do have the lit sheriff.
Okay. The true lit sheriff, 1170, 129. We have two lines. We have 173, life insurance, negative 156.24. And we have 171 FICA for a positive of 156.24. Total transfer is zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. Any questions on this? Roll call, please.
Cant,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to reassessment, 1224. We have 181, Board of Appeals, positive $756.18. 315, Exsoft annual maintenance, negative $398. 321, property PDF posting, negative $320. 323 mileage, negative $38.18. Total transfer zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. Questions?
I have a quick question, Mr. Carmichael. What is the Board of Appeals? Is that something that only happens if someone, or incurs an expense if like someone appeals their assessment?
Well, what they do is they appeal the assessment initially, and then through the preliminary stages, no agreement was met, or they didn't sign off on any agreement, or just didn't turn anything in to us to help us out. It goes to the Board of Appeals. That cost of that appeal board is about $325 a day.
So it's based off of how many people challenge. the
Yeah,
assessment.
it doesn't matter how many appeals you have. You can have, I think we had less appeals this year. Doesn't mean there's gonna be less show up at a board hearing.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
All right. Thank you.
I think I cut that line item this last year to at your request.
So it's gonna be something most likely. We just never know exactly. what
Yeah,
it's
you're never
be.
gonna know.
Right on. Thank you.
That's part one and two. I've got an appropriation to fill that, and the appropriation, so. appropriations.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Any other questions?
Mark the one out. Well, wait. Right here. Hold on. Right here's that. No, you're right. Because there's a reassessment on, appropriations too. So that's right. So go on, do you recall?
Pardon me, Mr. President, I just had some things out of order here.
No problem. A
Um,
lot of paperwork.
do we have a motion on this to get?
Yeah, this was on reassessment 1224, motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. And we're ready for roll call.
Cant,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Next is ineligible standard deduction, 1216, 172, perf, positive $500, 198, ineligible, or same fund, part-time, negative $500, total zero.
Motion to approve.
Second.
By Webb, second by Flanagan. This is out of the auditor's office, correct?
Yeah, I would just say that they have it in part-time and need it in perf, and so it's being moved.
Any
I did
questions?
not write it up, so.
Roll call, please.
Mokel?
Yes.
Webb?
Yes.
Whitehead?
Yes.
Flanagan?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Pardon me, got out of order, gentlemen. And Cantz?
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the transfer request. Moving on into additional appropriations.
We're starting out with other GIS map, 1150. We have line 310, positive $75,000 for a total of $75,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. And you have the sheet showing the, status of each of these funds from which additional appropriations are being requested. Tell us about this one, please.
Eileen Swackhammer for the Planning Commission.
Hey, Kelly, could
So-
you move that mic to the middle of that thing?
This one?
Yeah. Thanks.
You can see me. So this appropriation is for, $75,000 from our GIS account to be made available to use. This is to pay for Transmap. They did road inventory, assessment, and scoring for county, city, and town of Yorktown. And then this expense is 100% reimbursed back into our account. 80% comes from NDOT. And then contributions from city, county, and Yorktown are the other 20%. We just have to pay the bill in order to submit it for reimbursement
This is an annual contract, is that correct?
every 3 years.
3 years. Thank you. Questions?
I wanted to ask that, that'll pretty much drains your account. How long does it normally take for you to get your reimbursement?
Usually, we're expecting one from the last one this week, so usually it's about a month.
Oh,
But-
so that's not that long.
Yeah, we just can't depend
I
that
got you.
that's gonna be there at a certain date.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Whitehead?
Yes.
Flanagan?
Yes.
Cantz?
Yes.
Mokel?
Yes.
Webb?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Opioid response, 8199, 400 kiosk, positive $8,100, total $8,100.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan.
Good morning, Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. This is a grant that is shared with DCCC. Part of this is for the lease of a kiosk for the probationers to sign in instead of meeting face-to-face with the probation officer for lower level cases. And so this should get them through until the next installment of the grant to pay the lease on the kiosk.
So they have to come to this kiosk.
It's in the lobby of the Justice Center.
So what's the benefit?
It frees up time for the probation officers to deal with higher risk.
But you still gotta talk to them through the kiosk though, right?
No, it's all automated.
Okay, so there's like checking in, answering a series of questions or whatever.
Yes, yes.
Computerized.
Why
It's
do
all-
we need a kiosk for that? Like, isn't there an app for that or something?
Ryan, you're talking to the wrong person.
Some of these things we do seem like just.
Well, and
better
that's why we have the
solutions for it.
grant. That's why we put it in the grant so that we're not covering it in the budget,
Yeah,
so.
we can waste the money, it's just a grant.
Yeah.
And that enough,
What?
the one kiosk
Yes,
in the Justice Center?
it's in the lobby of the Justice Center, yes. I mean, because we don't have a lot on it. It's just the ones that we don't feel like we need to see face to face. And it's not that they're not seeing them face to face. They're not seeing them face to face as often. So they're checking in with that kiosk and then sometimes they're meeting with the probation officers.
And this is shared between the corrections and probation.
So the fund is shared between the two. One is part salary, which that the special meeting is for, but the kiosk is strictly for probation.
So the last time I went to the Justice Center after hours, there was quite a few people down there waiting to use the kiosks for visitations for inmates.
Are you talking about the phones or the kiosk for commissary? Because there's a kiosk for
Whatever
commissary.
the kiosk
and
is in the middle, I think it was the
those-
phones, 'cause
That's
they were
the
talking to
phones.
people.
That's visitation.
What I'm getting at is it, I guess, is there enough room to support adding more stuff in that lobby for this,
there.
for this type of, situation?
Yeah, it's already installed there, so this is just the lease payments to keep it going.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just I have to keep reappropriating it every time we get an installment of the grant.
Oh, so that, I know what you're talking, okay, so
Yeah.
that's what the other one is. I got you now.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call. Ants,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Hughes, yes.
Thank you.
Reassessment, 1224, line 181, Board of Appeals, positive $544, total $544.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Webb, second by Flanagan. This is the remainder of the money to,
Remember, yes, remainder just had to come out of a different fund.
on the Board of Appeals. Questions? Roll call. Mokel,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Ants,
Yes.
Hughes, yes.
Thank you.
We are ready for our motion.
Motion to approve financial transfers and to amend salary ordinance with like reductions.
Second. Motion by Whitehead, second by Flanagan. Roll call. Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Ants,
Yes.
Mokel,
Yes.
Hughes, yes. Moving on, appointments and committee reports. We have no appointments at this meeting. Reminder to the public that the open positions are posted on the county website. They're on social media. They're available, in the auditor's office. If anyone has any questions, contact the auditor's office, and all expressions of interest, both by members who are currently serving on any of those boards or commissions or members of the public, should be sent into the auditor's office yet this month, because we will be considering those at the December meeting. Any comments?
December 1. Is it December 1st, the deadline?
I think December 1 is the deadline. Is that correct? I think that's what it says.
I think that's what it said.
And does that mean before December 1 or the end of the day, December 1?
I think,
I don't want.
I would think we would be liberal and say by the end of the day on December 1.
I've seen a lot of interest on those being shared on social media, and I know I've received a lot of emails from people expressing interest, so hopefully we get a good turnout of people who, want to serve the community.
That is the goal. Any committee reports? Consideration of ordinances and resolutions, I'm not aware of any. Any old business? Any new business? We have an item review of the status of the Meadow Forge and Hawthorn tax abatement resolutions. Kind of make sure we're all up to speed as to where we are and how we got there. In May of 2021, commissioners adopted the solar energy provisions of the comprehensive zoning ordinance. In September of 21, this council adopted declaratory resolutions for tax abatement for two projects, the Meadow Forge project, which is in Washington Township, and the Hawthorn project, which is in Delaware Township. In October, the following month, the council held their required public hearing. And they adopted the confirming resolutions for both Meadow Forge and Hawthorn solar projects. In January of 2022, then the commissioners imposed a moratorium on all solar energy projects. And that is remained in effect and will remain in effect, is my understanding, until December 31 of this year. In February, following the imposition of the moratorium, February of 2022, the commissioners adopted a series of amendments to the comprehensive zoning ordinance provisions relating to solar energy projects as recommended by the Metropolitan Plan Commission. The commissioners also at about that time created a committee to study further amendments, committee composed of citizen members who both supported and opposed these solar projects. That committee met and was delayed somewhat by the passing of Marta Moody. But finally, in November of this year, of 2023, this month, that committee presented their report back to the Metropolitan Plan Commission. The Plan Commission held a public hearing and made recommendations for further amendments to the commissioners. Yesterday, the commissioners adopted the amendments as recommended by the Plan Commission, with one exception, and that will go back to the Plan Commission for further consideration before those amendments are adopted. So that's where we are, my understanding as of today, and that's a lot of moving parts. This council is not involved in any of the land use regulation. Our only involvement has been with the tax abatement. The resolutions that the council adopted gives us the authority, the right to request from the developers status report. My thinking, mine alone, is that with all these changes since the council adopted the tax abatement resolutions more than 2 years ago, we need a status report. We need to know what's going on, and make a determination as to whether those resolutions are still appropriate. I'd like to open the floor to the other members of the council for their thoughts and see how they'd like to proceed.
I think that the first step needs to be a status report by each one of the entities, and perhaps an update from either Baker Tilly and or Brad Book out in the Economic Development Group to understand what the current, or what appears to be what's going to happen with the amendments on the ordinance and how that may impact the financials that they submitted, more than 2 years ago. I don't think that costs are the same. I don't think that some of the issues potentially with setbacks and other things, factors of the actual use of the land may play into that. Not to mention just an updated numbers of our tax rates and what those expectations are. So my recommendation would be we ask them to provide an update on that front as well.
I'd like to see those numbers as well. I agree with you, Matt.
We also might want a comparison of, revenue current.
Guys need to speak up louder, please.
And I'm trying to phrase it. We probably need to, also like to see a, visit the, estimated revenue compared to what the current revenue is off the land.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. Yes.
You're talking tax revenue, right?
Yes. And I mean, I think that's part of what they give, but I just wanted to state it. I think that's part of what Matt wants too.
Yeah, and to be clear, only 2 members of this council were here during this time, one of which isn't even here today. So, Brian was the only one still, or on the council at this particular time, so I think for all of us, an update would be appropriate, given that none of us were here for the details, so, I've read up on pretty much everything that's in there, but, some of it, I don't understand where the numbers come from, so once we have that, I think we can determine next steps.
For me, I'm glad to hear some of you guys say that about wanting to gather some information. I specifically appreciate Councilmember Hughes, doing the brief recap of, because this has been a long journey. It was my first year on the council when we did this. Actually, it was my first abatement, ever presented to me. And I'll admit, in my opinion, I think we got it wrong. I know I got it wrong. And I've been trying to rectify that since that day. But we can only go off the information that was given to us at the time. Turns out the information that was given to us at the time was incorrect. To touch base a little bit about what Mr. Hughes said as far as the reminder of the journey we've been on, there's a couple things that are important that also happened that led us to this point. First thing is there was a misrepresentation of how much money was going to go to Westdale School in new money. This council, not this council, but the council at the time was under the impression, top of my head, it was either 11 million or 14 million. I can't remember which one it was, but we was under the impression that that was going to be new money. Turns out after the fact that that wasn't going to be new money. It was basically just going to be spread out amongst all the members of the community. It was like either $2 a household savings or $2 an acre, somewhere around there. It wasn't 11 or 14 million dollars new money to Westdale. So that was a problem. Baker Tilly got the heat on that. They took the blame for that. They said they did it incorrectly. The other thing, and this is my biggest issue for the entire thing, and this is where I take my own blame and take some accountability in this, is not understanding the abatement. We were presented before we did the abatement, which you have to declare this area an ERA. Well, typically, if it's something that's outside my expertise, I defer to our economic development director. At the time was Mr. Bookout. He gave us those okay, said this is a good thing to do, so that's what we did. It wasn't until the members of the community, and I also asked at that time, is there any opposition to this? And was told there's no opposition. Well, as I've said to many people, turns out not only is there opposition, there's significant opposition, there's organized opposition, and there's opposition with the legal representation. So everybody started showing up at these meetings. We had a 4 or 5 hour meeting one day. And come to find out, these citizens who had way more to lose in this deal than I did more research than I should have done. And they informed me that that area should have never been an ERA. And for it to be an ERA, it's an economic revitalization area. It has to be an area that is so defunct, so useless, like a brownfield. It can't be used for anything. And the only way to spur any development is to declare it an ERA, so we can then give it a tax abatement, and then maybe someone will develop it. Well, this not only is perfectly good farm ground, we've learned in our Delaware County's comprehensive report that it's also good ground for housing development. So it should have never been an ERA. What I've also learned since that day is the reason it was an ERA is because you can't get the tax abatement without it being declared that. It's like a legal term put in tax abatements. In order to get to this step, you have to jump over this step. Okay? If we wouldn't have declared an ERA, it would have never got the abatement. So although I hear everyone's very impassioned speeches, and I empathize with everyone who has to deal with this, for me, the objection is based off of the legal facts. And I know there's been some concern that if we rescinded the order, if we could possibly be under threat of litigation from these companies. I'm more concerned about litigation for passing an ERA that should have never been there in the first place from these residents. So if we know that there's a problem and we've caught that problem, there's been a moratorium in place for 2 years. I know there's concern, again, of litigation. They've not done nothing. They've not turned over 1 inch of ground. They've not done anything because of the moratorium. So to me, if we did what I believe is all right to fix a mistake that was made and reverse this, I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I don't see how that could be I mean, that's for the attorneys to decide, but for me, I don't see the legal liability in that. But the other thing is, with the commissioner's conversation yesterday, I'm sure everybody in this room probably seen the meeting. A lot's changed since that abatement was passed. That 500-foot setback, that's gonna change the abatement area that we approved, right? You figure 500 feet setback all the way around, that's gonna wipe out a significant portion of this acreage. So, with that being in place, I believe you guys are correct that, it'd be good to hear, from this company and see what their intentions are. The other thing is the 5,000 acres. First it went up to 34,000, now it's back down to 5,000. But back in, I believe it was February of 2022, last year, upon realizing all this, I made a motion to rescind the abatement. It failed 4-2. And the reason it failed 4-2 was the council said this new task force had just been created and there's a moratorium, so there's no rush to do any of this. We can basically just sit back and wait and see what the task force does and what the commissioners do, okay? I didn't agree with it, but it is what it is. Now this is the point. Well, we've sit back and waited. It's been a year, almost 2 years. Task force was created. Pretty much everything they suggested was gutted completely. So that was a waste of time, pretty much. And then the commissioners made the changes that they made. So I feel it's time for us to pick up the ball where we left off. We had to wait on the task force, we had to wait on the commissioners. Those have both happened.
Well, to be clear, the amendment is not in place at this point, has not been approved. The amendments have not been approved yet. So we're still working under a moratorium.
Right, till the 31st, right? To
Correct.
me, time is of the essence because of that whole concern of litigation. The sooner we can do something, the better. But to be fair, at that time, I believe it was Mr. Freeman, someone asked, what do we do? What are the steps to, if we did want to just consider the moratorium? And I believe the steps was that this council would send the abatement back to the tax abatement committee for review with the new knowledge of 500-foot setbacks or the knowledge that it shouldn't be an ERA, all of these different things that have changed since then. There's two parts to that. The second part is this council would have to schedule a special meeting or hearing to consider the possibility of rescinding the abatement. When I hear my fellow council members discuss wanting to hear from this company and find out their intentions, that's perfect for me because that plays into right exactly what I was wanting to suggest is a hearing. And in my opinion, we send it back to the abatement for review, the abatement committee, and we have that special hearing and invite that company to give us their update. This gives the council time to gather any information that they may want. And then at that hearing, we could consider a possible rescission of the abatement. At that point, everyone will have all the information. We'll have heard from the council, or I'm sorry, we'll have heard from the company. I think the planning commission will have had a chance to hear what they gotta hear. And, the abatement committee will have an opportunity to review the abatement with the new information. So I'm gonna make that motion that we do that.
Just to clarify, the motion is to refer both tax abatements back to the tax abatement committee for their review and they're to report back to the council.
Yes, sir. And for this council to hold the special hearing where we invite these companies to inform us and for us to consider the possibility of rescission. I believe, Mr. Freeman, is that correct?
It could be, it could be a regular meeting. December would probably be too quick. It'd probably have to be January.
I'm open to whatever, I mean, you gentlemen think is the best thing. I feel like we're back to this wall with time with,
The tax abatement committee meet.
It meets as needed. So if this is referred back to them, I'm the chairman of the tax abatement committee, two other members, and then we would meet with Brad Bookout. And that would also be the appropriate time to, if we have requests from Baker Tilly, to get those requested and on board, and they would obviously need some period of time based upon the information that we're asking.
and also when you brought up Mr. Bookout, when that had come up at the end of the year, when all this new information come out, Mr. Bookout stood at that podium and said, in light of this new information, I support whichever way the council goes, whether you rescind it or whether you keep it. He was open to either one. I believe I sent that article to each council member. I was in the Star Press. Because it was a bombshell. That information was completely different than what we were told.
So for purposes of your motion, can we leave open the date of whether it's a regular or special meeting, but have the tax abatement committee meet and report, provide, get the necessary information from Baker Tilly, and then schedule a meeting as quickly as possible to meet with the, representatives from the Meadow Forge and Hawthorn.
Yes, sir. I
Second
just
that
did that
motion.
because I thought that was what was required legally. But if you're saying we can do it that way, yes, sir, that's my motion.
And then we have a second for Mr. Whitehead. Is that correct? Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
so repeat the motion, please. For me.
okay. The motion is, with respect to the status of the Meadow Forge and Hawthorn tax abatement resolutions, to refer them back to the tax abatement committee for their study and obtain necessary information from Baker Tilly or other sources, report back to the council. And the council then schedule a public hearing, request that the developers, be present to update the status of these projects. And then the council can consider what action to take at that point. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So who's gonna contact, Hawthorn and, the tax abatement, Baker Tilly, so we can get all that information?
Okay, the tax abatement committee would contact, through Mr. Bookout, would contact Baker Tilly. We would have our council contact representatives from Meadow Forge and Hawthorn.
That's pretty much Brad.
Very clear on that?
Yep.
Any further comments or discussion? Roll call, please.
Alco,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead,
Yes.
Flanagan,
Yes.
Cantz,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes. Comments by office holders and department heads.
Hi, Emily Anderson, Court Admin. So I'm gonna have a transfer in front of you next meeting, 4 copiers, and I wanted to give you an update on that. Dan is looking for copiers for me to give me as much as I can get with the money I have in my budget left over. I have to replace, 8 copiers between the courts probation departments, and he's hoping to get me 5 of those replacements with the money I have. He had quoted me $49.95 per copier, but he is getting some copiers refurbished that are less cost to him to give the savings to me. So I'm getting some for 3,000. So it looks like I'll get the chunk of mine back, replaced this year. So I'm hoping that you'll support my transfer next month, so I can get those replaced.
I asked, and I think Sarah got it for me, well, she found what she could find relative to our contract with Weber office.
Mhm.
Because it sounds like if your office has got a handful that are at end of life, prosecutor's office, public defenders, we've got a ton of old copy machines in this county government at this point, right? That we need to, and I'm gonna implore the commissioners, I guess, to take a look at that contract and to try to determine if there is a alternative source with which we can get new equipment for as good or less money to replace some of these outdated machines. I mean, we're fighting this battle seemingly, I've only been here a year, this endless discussion about this. So we need to consider lease options. We need to consider some things that are just,
I did look
there's
at lease.
alternatives out there.
Yeah,
that
I
we
did look
haven't
at lease
looked at.
options and they're just as expensive. It's actually more expensive to lease. And the other thing you look at with leasing, I don't have it in my
Through who
budget.
though?
Like I don't have it in my budget to lease anything.
No, I know, but through who have we looked at? And are we looking at it in totality, not just your office, but
Yes.
in totality?
Yes.
We have I forget what the number was, amount of copy machines in this county government, so.
Yeah.
This isn't for you, Emily.
Right.
I'm not, this isn't about you, I'm just saying
Right.
out loud that we need to
Well,
address this at a
And
higher level.
previously, all of them were purchased by the commissioners, and I understand they don't have it in their money to do that. So now it's being pushed on the departments to find it, and so
We need a plan.
we're scrambling, right, we didn't plan.
Yeah.
We're scrambling to find it, so I am hoping to get the majority of mine replaced so that I'm not having to come and ask for an appropriation.
Yeah.
And I did give him an amount of what I have, and he's trying to get me as many as he can with that amount.
Did
So
you,
he is working with me.
did you put anything in your 24 budget for copy machines?
No, because I didn't realize it until after budget. I mean, he didn't contact me till after budget.
We're back to my thing about the copiers are like computers. There needs to be a systematic replacement instead of being bombarded. with-
Right, because I have, I have 8 copiers now that,
I
I
We
did not have a
50
clue.
total. In
Huh?
the county government, we have 50.
Yeah,
So
my computer's on a replacement plan.
somebody in another market will be willing to shop us, some new copiers, I can guarantee that, so we
Yes.
should consider what that's
I
gonna
talk
look
to
like.
John Burke, because I remember at one time we leased copies.
I don't know what the answer is, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that we need to consider a wholesale plan
Right.
to what is becoming a department head challenge every month
Whip stitch.
about how they're gonna deal with their copy machines. I mean, it's kind of a ridiculous sort of.
But I do want to remind council that it's not just, like, when we look at things like computers and whatever, we can't just go get a computer and think that you can get one for $500 when you have to have network availability. You have to have certain, specifications that meet the network
Yeah.
demands of the county. So just like with copiers, I'm sure that there are certain demands that have to be met in that.
Sure.
So I'm sure that.
I've worked in
look-
IT 20 years, I know.
Right, you understand
But
that.
it's like,
So people think, oh, why are you spending so much money on this one little thing? But there's specifications that
no,
have to be
and the
met.
money is continuing to grow. That's the other thing. Computers aren't getting any cheaper. They're not, copy machines aren't getting any cheaper.
Yes.
The investment to maintain them isn't getting any cheaper, so we have to do a better job, I think, of shopping that around into the market to see what's available to us in 5-year increments versus kind of, I don't know how long this contract is, it's old. So,
I think mine were, last replaced in 14.
yeah,
I believe.
so, I mean,
I'd have to look at my
That's
list.
a lot of life for.
It is. I'm not complaining, so. But that's just all I needed, just to let you know it's coming for next, meeting.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Any other office holders, department heads? Mr. Polk.
Good morning, Brad Polk, Delaware County Treasurer. I just wanted to come before you. We just got done with, we're at the end of the tax collection period for fall. Just want to kind of give you a brief update, where we're at, and then also on our, interest for the year, kind of where we're at as well. So for 2023, we have collected about $117 million. We are still processing. We just got done with all the mail for the on-time payments, and now we're processing late payments, late mail, and then also walk-ins. And so we're anticipating probably another $3 million collected on that, 3 to 4 million on that as well. So that put us about 120, 121, something like that. Just to kind of give you an update. And then on the interest, kind of ran some numbers. Back in 2021, we were at $108,000 in interest for the year. Last year, we were at about $702,000. And year to date right now, as of October 31st, we're at 2.6 million in interest and projected for about another 600,000 in the last 2 months here in November and December. So that put us about 3.2 million on the interest. So I know the rates have gone up, but a lot of that is just doing the right investment at the right time and just keeping an eye on the market. And that's what I've been trying to do, is just get the best money for the county and make sure it's the liquid funds in case we need it at any time. So just kind of giving that update. You have any questions?
I know you've put a lot of focus and energy into that. You've done a really good job with it. Kind of unexpected money, I guess we didn't really expect to get, so good job on doing that.
How do our tax collections compare to previous years?
Right on target. I mean, that's what I was asking. Last year, I think we we're right at 120, 121, and that's right where we're at. We're anticipating, like I said, between the rest of this week, next week, and the following week, probably, getting around $3 million, in collection, so we would be at about 120, 121, something like that. So right on target.
And not growing.
No, no. So at least, I mean, that's the one thing I guess is that people are paying. You know, we always have some out there that are a couple cycles behind. Those obviously will go in the tax sale, the next tax sale that we have, which will be in the fall in October. So unless they get paid between now and then.
Challenge to this council, though, if the tax collections aren't growing, our needs in local government are growing.
Mhm.
That's the.
Yes, right.
Thank you, Hudson. I appreciate the report. Any other department heads or office holders? If not, we'll move into, public comments. Reminder that we'd ask you to keep it to roughly 3 minutes. I've appointed our counsel, Mr. Freeman, as our timekeeper, but not our enforcer. Cheryl Swingley.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Swingley and I live at 3908 North Vienna Woods, Drive here in Muncie. It's interesting to hear you say that you need more tax, money, because through solar, that's one way that you can get tax money. I came here today to talk about an economic agreement, development agreement. And then it's really about tax abatement. I am somewhat familiar with the tax abatement that one of the companies has, and it doesn't sound as drastic as what is provided some other companies. It's kind of like, you don't have to pay any taxes for 5 years, 10 years, or 15. And I know that this is mitigated to some extent because they will pay you so much money over a 10-year period to help mitigate as they grow into paying the full tax payment or property tax. At least that's my understanding. I am not an expert. I'm an amateur at all of this, but I'm very interested in the solar projects in our community. And I have spent a great deal of time talking to the people in Randolph County who have a 10-year history with renewable energy. So I think that they're a good group to talk with, the county officials there, because they know how it's working and it's working very well for them. Some of the benefits to Randolph County, which I want to call to your attention, they have better roads in many parts of the county because roads the energy company used or damaged in any way were put back better than they were found. More than $1 million in repairs have been done to the Randolph County Courthouse. Modoc and Lasantville have had $1.5 million spent in their communities to fix their sewers. And again, I remind you, this is all solar generated revenue from their projects. By 2027, when projects are done, it is estimated that 24% of the tax base of Randolph County will be supported by renewable energy. When projects are done, it's estimated that the landowners who are allocating their land for the future welfare of our citizens will be able to earn, and some people seem to be jealous of this. I'm sorry, it just boils down to this, but they will receive monthly $480,000 will be dispersed to the different property owners for allowing renewables to be on their property. In addition, George Castor, the assessor for Randolph County, says that during the 10-year history of renewables in their county, their home values represent the current market, and he says homes sell for list price or higher. And there's a lot of controversy about that. An economic development agreement is a must, otherwise you'll have only property tax income to spend, which is restricted. I haven't heard that you are planning to do an economic development agreement. That is a must, as well as road agreement and drainage agreement. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Linda Hanson.
Good morning, council members. I'm Linda Hansen, spokesperson for the League of Women Voters and of Muncie, Delaware County. I do have a question, and I know to some extent Cheryl has raised this, but you have a tax abatement agreement right now. How is that different from an economic development agreement? And would that be something that the council would develop? Or does that come from Brad Bookhout? Or, I'm not sure I understand.
Those are
how all this
agreements
works.
are with, what agreements there are with the commissioners. We don't have agreements. The only thing we have are our tax abatement resolutions.
Okay. So, re-examining the tax abatement agreement that is there, will still, and figuring out how that can work. It can only work if if the land is declared an ERA,
That's correct.
and that is in every county.
That's state law.
I guess I don't understand how Randolph County and a few others have gotten theirs. But I do want to say the League of Women Voters has a position that we, studied and developed, and adopted at our annual meeting in May of 2023, supporting utility solar in Muncie, Delaware County. And I want to point out, because I think this is important, Article 12, Section 10 of the existing ordinance states that the county finds that it is in the public interest to encourage the use and development of renewable energy systems that enhance energy conservation efforts, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and promote sustainable development. And during the moratorium, the study committee was charged with making recommended amendments to the existing solar ordinance to continue to mitigate the impacts of solar facilities while not preventing solar farms in Delaware County. And I know Councilman Webb mentioned that, the 500-foot setback, that is a regrettable amendment that was brought forward at the Metropolitan Plan Commission and passed to the county commissioners. That's not going to help achieve the ends either of the original ordinance or the study committee. It is likely to impose such severe limitations that the solar companies cannot or will not be able to comply, and we will lose millions of dollars in revenue. I applaud your efforts to look again at the a tax abatement agreement that you have or resolution that you have, and to do what you can to support the public economic development agreements with the solar companies. We really need the additional tax money here in Delaware County. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Christina Wheeler.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christina Wheeler. I'm an attorney and partner at the law firm of Bose, McKinney and Evans in Indianapolis. I've spent the last 25 years of my career solely working on local government issues, energy utility matters, and public utilities. I'm the former general counsel of the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission for 7 years, as well as the vice president and general counsel of Indiana Municipal Power Agency, or IMPA. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have so many concerns with some of the things that have been said publicly today and privately and at other meetings that I hardly can address them all in 3 minutes, but I will tell you on behalf of my client, who is Invenergy LLC, which is the Meadow Forge solar project, that we are more than happy to communicate with you and provide the report that you've required. I hope to give council attorney, and I've been council attorney in other counties before, as well as counsel to the county commissioners. It's a big job, it's a hard job, and I hope to talk to him as well as Mr. Brook offline. I attempted to contact Mr. Brook about some of the legal concerns that I have, but as I understand it, he had a sub yesterday at the commissioners meeting and is on his annual family Thanksgiving hunting trip, where I wish I was, frankly. But that said, I want
to be clear to you that I do not believe that there is a legal mechanism in which you can rescind a previously approved tax abatement agreement. The statute just does not contemplate that unless my client has done something wrong. And I heard a lot of concerns, but I didn't hear anyone say that Invenergy or Meadow Forge Solar did anything wrong. And I think that's key here. I also think what's key is to understand that the Indiana Court of Appeals has already said that a solar farm is the proper use of an economic development agreement in an agricultural area. There are actually two recent cases on that. I think DeKalb County was one of them. I welcome you, and I'll share with your attorney more information on that. I also have some concerns if there's any belief that Meadow Forge has not spent any money just because nothing has changed in the farm field. The truth is that there are many state and federal expenses involved with developing these projects. They are at about the $5 million mark. Part of that is paying the leases to our landowners who have the right to continue their payments. I also have a grave concern about breach of contract with the county commissioners, respectfully, and the fact that nobody here acted in good faith, because there's been a moratorium for 2 years that prevented the company from filing the zoning application that it otherwise would have been permitted to file once the economic development agreement, which gives the county additional $1.6 million that it otherwise would not receive, in addition to all the tax revenue that will come. Only the first year is 100% abatement. Every year that goes down 10%. By the 10th year, you will get the full tax value. I encourage you to talk with Baker Tilly. What I think you will find is that your tax revenue from the project will only increase because the value of the project has increased. As we've said, everything here is increasing. So I look forward to more discussion.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, sir.
What did you say about the 1.6 million?
So the way, I hear some confusion about the way that tax abatements and economic development agreements work, and they work together. So this council, or your predecessors, for those who were not here, signed a tax abatement. It has been filed with the state of Indiana. There was a period for which to appeal that. That has long since passed. That was 2 years ago. That tax abatement allowed the project, starting in 2024, to have 100% tax abatement in 24, 90% in 25, 80% in 26, and so on. That works hand in hand with the economic development agreement that the county commissioners signed, that in return for that tax benefit, we are paying the county not a tax, but a $1.6 million economic development agreement. If you read the economic development agreement signed by all 3 existing county commissioners that are here today, it says we give the county $1.6 million. Why do counties like you like this? Because unlike some of the restrictions that you receive for tax money, the $1.6 million under that EDA can be used for any government purpose that you feel is appropriate. Your hands are not tied to using it just for things that you can use property tax for, as long as it is in your government purview. Some counties I've worked with want to use it for schools. Others want to use it for other things like roads, etc. So I hope that helps clarify. It is a two-way street here. We're not getting off scot-free.
Appreciate it.
You would provide your contact information to Mr. Freeman after the
I
meeting.
certainly
I
will.
appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
David Mock.
David Malk, 17,000 North, County Road 500 West. I want to thank all you folks for doing what you've done today. Ryan Webb, you've done a good job bringing up everything you brought up. I had a bunch of stuff written down. I've X'd out just about everything I was going to bring up because you guys have already spoke about it. But Miss Wheeler, I just want to say, yesterday she was at the county commissioner meeting and she kept talking about in good faith. She was preaching to the commissioners in good faith, they will stay with the tax abatement. Everything was in good faith, in good faith. Now, do you really think that the Invenergy has been in good faith through all this? They've told so many lies.
Address your comments to the
Okay.
council, please.
Miss Wheeler is wrong. If she's wanting, everybody to be in good faith, Invenergy needs to be in good faith from the start, and they weren't. And, sorry I got upset like this, but thank you for everything you've done. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. Brittany Mock.
I just want to thank you, Brittany Mock, Gaston, Indiana. I basically was going to ask you to do what Ryan asked you to do, just send it back to the tax abatement committee, have them look at it, go into looking at the ERA and what deemed that an ERA, and then host the special meeting that is going to give you guys more information. As you know, there was only 2 of you on the original board back in February when we went through all this to begin with. And just dive into that because, like he said, it's not fair to us that you guys are giving a tax abatement on something that's considered an ERA that is not an ERA and going to disrupt people's lives and their livelihood. So just looking at that and then, host a special meeting because I believe a lot of us were not even at the meeting where you guys did the tax abatement because no one knew about it. So I think a lot of us would like to hear what was presented or is going to be presented as well. And that would give us the opportunity to come and listen to the same stuff that you guys are getting spoken to about, and everybody can be on the same page with things. And so I just would ask for you to send it back to the tax committee like you did, and then hold that special hearing that would allow everyone to come and hear what they have to say. So I thank you for doing that today.
Thank you. Brian Richards. Pass. Okay. Victoria Gassaway.
Victoria Gasway. And again, I'm similar to some of the others that have just recently spoke. I just want to say thank you. Most of what I had prepared here, I've been able to scratch out. One of the questions that I asked a few of you just in personal conversations was, will the said improvements to the land depreciate in value over time? So when you have your special meeting, after resending this back to the abatement committee, I would just ask that question, be very clear and exposed. So an example is if they're bringing $155 million worth of improvements to the land and they start paying taxes on year 10, is that project a third of the way already depreciated, the improvements that were done to the land? So are they really bringing 155 million? Are they going to be paying taxes on the 155 million on year 10 for those said quote improvements? So that was something that I would like you to look into. I would also like just to remind you, I thank you so much for bringing back up just the history of how we've ended up here. But the abatement that was in front of you did not receive 100% recommendation when it came from the abatement committee. So that would be something that maybe you can dig in and find out why. Why did that not have 100% recommendation when it was presented to county council? In the abatement application for Meadow Forge, the question states, please describe in detail any environmental, real or potential impacts, discharges, nuisance, contaminants that this project or the production process will generate. Invenergy states none in capital letters. The project will include meadow grasses, which will aid in drainage in nearby area, yet in a land lease that I found produced by Invenergy for Lone Oak, which is a solar project over in Madison County. Their line item 7.4, and I can provide you a copy with this if you would like it. It said, in no event shall guarantee or its related persons be liable to the owner for property damage or personal injuries to owner or related persons attributable to risk of known and unknown dangers associated with normal day-to-day operation of electrical generating facilities such as noise, electromagnetic fields, generating facilities such as, and glare, or any form of runoff, altered drainage patterns resulting from guarantees grading of the property. That to me seems to be misleading, or I don't want to say a lie. So you might want to look into the abatement application. by a simple question that I posed on Facebook recently, asking if any other counties in the state of Indiana were under industrial solar farms coming in. This was what came up quickly. Clinton County, Clark, Decatur, Allen, Adams, Bartholomew, 7,000 acres, by the way, Noble, Cass, Fountain, St. Joseph, Spencer, Perry, Orange, Rush, Blackford, Grant, Marshall, Pike, Posey, Madison, Morgan, Henry, DeKalb, Jay, Jasper, Randolph, Miami, Howard, Vermilion, Porter, Fountain, Wayne, White, Pike, Bartholomew, 7,000 acres, Sullivan's over 10,000 acres, and Stark and Pulaski's over 13,000 acres. That's a large Invenergy project now. Might want to question, why is the push so fast? And it's not just the dollars. Look into the federal subsidies that these companies are going to be losing if they don't start construction by year 2024. Look at what will happen if they don't start construction by the end of year 2024 with the federal tax write-offs for them. Thank you so much. I cannot thank you again.
I could ask you, if I could ask you real fast, real quick, Ms. Vicky.
Yes.
Just to clarify, when you asked, for us to pay closer attention to the depreciation, is what
Yes.
you're asking is, I think these solar fields have a life of, say, 30 years. You're asking if value on day one is the same value on year 30, or will it depreciate over time?
Right.
Thus, the tax revenue depreciate with it. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and so in the way that I understood, there was 2 abatements per project. It looked like we're giving one for the land, and then we're giving one for the improvements. The rolling, 10%, 20%, 30% per each year. But by the time they get to year 10, and the technology keeps changing from what it looks like. So an industrial solar field 20 years ago, they would tell us, well, the lifespan is around 20 years. We know that lifespan has went up because technology has improved. But if it's a 35-year lifespan of a solar farm, now industrial solar farm, how many years are they really truly paying that $155 million improvement fee? So like I'm saying, if I went and bought a tractor tomorrow, I'm gonna be able to write off it, it's gonna be depreciating over time. But what does that look like to the county with a solar field that's being installed? Those quote improvements to the land.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sorry.
Not for me.
All right, thanks.
Kelsey Morris, is there anyone else that did not sign up that wishes to comment?
We did have a question on the live stream about the other 2 members of the abatement committee. Is that Josh Perkins and Ryan Ballard?
That's correct.
And Ballard was here when all this happened, so he is somewhat familiar with it as well. I don't know Mr. Perkins.
I think that's it.
Comments by council members?
I have a quick comment, and it's a couple different things. Number one, I want, I can see the passion and the emotion. I want to caution everyone. What we said we were gonna do is kick it back to the abatement committee and have a special hearing. I want to caution people of getting their hopes up, to thinking that this is it could potentially lead to nowhere. Even if it does happen, it may potentially not stop anything. So I just want to temper expectations a little bit. And just say this is just another process for people to review and everyone to get up to speed and really find out where we're all at. The second thing I wanted to say is, I think a lot of this could have been prevented. And I say that because I've brought this up before. And this is about, again, I want to take some accountability here. I think we, as a local government, don't do enough I know there's a legal threshold to meet as far as notifying people. I think we have to do a better job at meeting people where they're at and making people aware these things are happening. No one's reading the newspaper. Nobody's reading that legal section. Right? Nobody's seeing these things until it's too late. I was here for these meetings. Nobody was here when we voted. We had the special meeting announcing it was going to happen. Then the next month we had the meeting, we voted on it. It wasn't until the following month when there was standing room only in the hallway. And that's because, regardless of who's at fault, people weren't made aware of it. So I would really hope moving forward that some of these things in the future can be prevented. Because I feel like if more people would have known about this, what I keep hearing over and over is, well, this is already locked in, signed, it's done, times went by, blah, blah, blah. So if more notification could have been put out, maybe some of this could been prevented. Now, I'm not saying everybody here is on social media. I'm sure they're not. But I just think that we've got to do a better job at putting our information out there of upcoming meetings, what we're gonna be doing. And that's not only on us. You guys have got to do a better job as well as getting involved in your local government, paying attention. You got to see what's going on. We live stream these every month. Pay attention to what's going on around you, because usually by the time you find out about it, it's too late. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We all have a role to play in this, and we all got to get better at it.
Any other comments?
I'd just like to, thank the citizens for coming up, showing their interest, and also thank them for being so respectful and polite.
Anything else?
I'll echo Dan's comments, but I hope that the tax abatement committee gets accurate numbers, because what it seems like I've heard is the numbers that were presented originally weren't accurate. And I hope going forward here that we get accurate numbers, and that way we can make a better decision. And maybe the decision doesn't come out to rescinding it, but if we have accurate numbers, we can at least proceed in a positive manner on what we do know and what we don't know. Because from what Ryan has said in the last two meetings, numbers were presented that the school system was gonna get more money, and then it come back to they're not really getting more money. And so if that's the way things are getting presented, that is misleading. And I sure hope that, Mr. Hughes, you do a good job with all that you've got before you, and finding out how we can proceed with this matter.
I think anyone who has information that would be helpful to this council, to the tax abatement committee, please submit it. Make sure you can submit it through the auditor's office or to any of the council members. We will communicate with each other and make sure that everybody has all available information. Anything further from the council? We have a special meeting next Tuesday at 9 a.m. in this room. And that is to consider an additional appropriation that didn't get advertised in time. Those have to be advertised at least 10 days in advance. That will be the sole purpose of that special meeting. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, December 12th at 9 a.m. And per our rules at the December meeting, we do not consider any additional appropriations. That's strictly transfers. With that, I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving with family and friends, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Real quick, before we do that motion,
Yes.
also that December meeting, that is when we're gonna vote to make those board.
And those
committee
appointments will
correct?
be on it. That's correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
Motion to,
So moved.
motion by
Second.
Flanagan.
You do.
Almost.
You do,
Oh,
Dave.
second by you, Chief. Roll call, please.
Cantz,
Yes.
Mokel. Yes. Webb,
Yes.
Whitehead. Yes. Flanagan. Yes. Hughes.
Yes, we're adjourned.
Sure and sign.